Functions. A function contains instructions used to create the output from its input. Imagine someone who is trained to do a specific task and could do it perfectly over and over again when asked. This is how a function looks. Add, open parentheses, number 1, number 2, close parenthesis, and semicolon. A function accepts arguments, which is the actual data, number 1 and number 2, to return a value. So add 1 and 2, it will give you a value of 3. There are also functions without a return value. A procedure is a function, but the difference is it doesn't output a value, it just does things. So here the sample is a draw circle radius. It will take the value of the radius and draw a circle based on it. So let's get back to AmiBroker. Okay. So once the EFL formula editor is open, let's start typing. So once you start typing, the EFL formula editor activates the IntelliSense-like feature, which shows you the possible functions or options that you can use in your code. For this section, we will try to add a simple moving average through code. Functions will have an icon F showing beside it. So these are the sample of the functions. There's a little F icon. So let's select plot. Now, arguments. Functions and procedures accept arguments, which are separated by a comma. Some functions have no arguments, while others could have a couple. Arguments could sometimes be mandatory, which means you have to pass a value to it, or optional, where you could just leave it blank. So going back to AmiBroker, here. So after typing plot, we type in the open parentheses. It will show you the available arguments that you can pass to it. Plot is a function that doesn't return a value, but what it does is it plots the value you pass on to it. Array, name, and color are mandatory arguments, meaning you have to pass a value for it to work. The arguments with the equal sign are optional arguments, meaning if you don't enter any arguments for them, it will use the default value and the value on the right side of the equal sign. So, okay, let's fill in the arguments. Each argument is separated by a comma. The first argument is the array. This is where you enter the value you want to be shown. It could be another function that returns a value like a moving average or just a plain number which plots a horizontal line. For this sample, we want to plot a straight line. So let's just enter 28. Then as you can see, the next argument contains a double quotation mark. It means that it's a text value. We also need to enter the text value enclosed with a double quotation mark. The reason for this is that text values without a double quotation mark are variables. More on this later. So let's just enter line open. So double quotation mark, then line 28. And the next one. The next one is the color argument. To enter a value, start by typing the word color. A drop-down box will appear so that you can select the color you want. So let's select color aqua for this example. As you can see, there are lots of other available colors. So color aqua. So let's now close the function with the close parentheses. Then click on the AFL Verify Syntax button. As you can see, there is something wrong with the code. A very important tip, please read the error message properly. Most of the time, it tells you how to fix the problem. If not, a simple Google search on it will give you possible solutions. So our problem with our function is that it's missing a semicolon. Just add it and click on the AFL Verify Syntax button again to check if there is no more problems. Then click on the Save button. So just add the semicolon. Then click the AFL Verify Syntax button, then save. So statements are ended by a semicolon. A program is formed by using one or more statements or commands that the programmer gives to the computer. The semicolon indicates the end of each of those statements. This is very important. Always remember to check if you place a semicolon at the end of every statement you use. So here are some samples. So let's go back to AmiBroker. After you see this, once we click on save, a line will be plotted. So if we change this to, let's say, 20, then click on save, it plots a line 20. So one more thing, remember the name we used, line 28. It will show up also on the chart with the corresponding value of 28, this one on top.